The Imperial defense grid saw it first as a thin ripple in space, like a wrinkle on calm water. Sensors adjusted and focused, trying to give the shape meaning. It was a single ship, small compared to the wide wall of Empire war vessels that guarded the outer edge of their controlled systems. It moved without ceremony, without a beacon, and without the proper identity signal that every known species used when crossing into Empire space. On the main command bridge of the Empire fleet, Commander watched the data scroll across his tactical panels. His long fingers tapped the metal surface in slow annoyance. A lone ship meant very little. In his long years of command, such vessels often belonged to traders, lost travelers, or minor scouts that made mistakes. None survived long if they ignored Empire rules. Beside him, Intelligence Officer Lyra leaned closer to her scanning console. Her eyes carried quiet concern as she ran the vessel through every known system. She checked visual form, heat traces, energy signature, and even hull surface data. Still, every match came back empty. She tried again, this time linking the wider Imperial archive that covered thousands of years of space travel history. "There is no match," she said, her voice low but clear. "Its structure does not resemble any registered design." Let out a soft rough sound that for impatience. "Then it is an error or a rogue craft," he replied. "Open standard channel. Inform them they have entered restricted space." A communicator relay officer sent the message, using the Empire's formal warning tone. The words carried strength, law, and the calm threat of force. Silence answered back. The unknown ship did not slow. It did not change course. It continued forward, quiet, almost careless. "Scan again," ordered. "I want full data on propulsion and weapon systems." Lyra obeyed, though her unease grew. Energy lines within the vessel moved in patterns she could not identify. Its core pulse was smooth, steady, and far stronger than its physical size suggested. After several more scans, she spoke again, her voice sharper now. "It's not in our records." The phrase echoed across the bridge and moved through linked command channels to every nearby Imperial ship. Officers shifted in their stations. Some laughed at the thought of a threat. Others exchanged unsure glances. A single ship unknown to the Empire was rare, but no one believed it could matter. Straightened his posture. "Prepare intimidation formation," he said. "Move to surround. If it refuses contact again, fire a warning volley." Outside, the Empire fleet shifted in perfect order. Dozens of cruisers and battle carriers formed a half-circle wall of dark metal and glowing weapon ports. Bright engine flares painted space with light as they tightened their hold around the lone vessel. Inside the human ship, the bridge flowed with calm control. Screens displayed the incoming formation in quiet detail. Captain Jake Morrow stood at the center, hands behind his back, eyes calm as he studied the pattern forming ahead. He did not speak at once. Instead, he took in the distance, the angles, the small delays in synchronized movement. At his side, Tactical Officer adjusted her interface and watched the same data. Her face showed no fear, only focused thought. "They are performing a basic intimidation wall," she said. "They believe we will react with panic or surrender." Jake gave a small nod. "Then we allow them to think that," he replied. "Begin silent approach, no broadcast, no threat display." Engineer Bowman's voice came through the ship's internal line. "All systems steady, shield layers primed, energy conversion matrix ready on your mark." "Hold for now," Jake answered. "We do not fire unless forced." The human ship advanced deeper, its hull reflecting faint starlight. To the Empire, its steady movement without reply felt like insult. Saw the distance close and ordered the first warning volley. Bright bolts of controlled plasma cut through the dark and raced toward the vessel, meant only to show power, not cause real damage. Inside the human bridge, alarms remained silent. Gave a light adjustment command, and the ship tilted just enough to let the bolts pass close but miss cleanly. Its shielding did not even flare. The movement was smooth, graceful, almost casual. His eyes narrowed. It avoided impact, he said. Increased pressure, another volley, stronger. More fire came. Space around the human ship lit up with overstimulated light and heat. This time, several impacts struck. Instead of breaking apart or slowing, the vessel absorbed the energy. Golden lines rippled softly across its surface as the barrier drank the assault. On board, smiled faintly at the monitoring screen. Energy transfer confirmed. Shields at optimal intake. Jake folded his arms. They have made their choice, he said quietly. Met his eyes. You want a response. Minimal, just enough to teach attention. She entered a short command into the system. A single focused pulse left the forward array, fast and silent. It struck the nearest Imperial cruiser with perfect precision. The ship detonated in sudden light, breaking apart in controlled collapse. Emergency beacons flared and debris scattered like glowing dust. On its bridge, the impact shook more than hulls. Alarms blared. Shock moved through every officer. Lyra stared at the dissolving cruiser image with disbelief. One shot, she whispered. That weapon output exceeds any known scale. His pride hardened into anger. Full engagement, he growled. Destroy it. The Empire fleet surged forward, unleashing concentrated fire from every angle. Hundreds of beams and explosive shells thickened space into chaos. Yet the human ship moved through it with quiet control, adjusting speed, tilt, and vector in steady rhythm. Each threatening burst met calculated response. On the bridge, Jake watched the display like a chessboard. He spoke calmly, giving direction without rush. Hold center line, prepare counter cycle. Nodded, her fingers moving smoothly. Target sequence ready. They did not waste shots. Each pulse from the human vessel struck a critical system. One beam cut a carrier's central relay, forcing it dark. Another disrupted a navigation core, sending a destroyer into slow, uncontrolled spin. Energy shields on Empire ships failed not from brute force but from precise overload. Struggled to hold order. His voice rose as he called commands. Formation collapsed as panic confusion. Some ships tried to retreat, others pushed forward blindly. Lyra continued scanning, but every attempt returned the same truth. No record, no match, no logic. Her breathing turned shallow. Commander, she said, its systems respond beyond our comprehension. It predicts our firing paths before we act. Slammed his hand onto the console. Then overwhelm it. Numbers must break it. But numbers did not help. The human ship curved through attacks with smooth grace, its hull glowing softly like controlled. Inside, silence filled the air except for short-spoken updates from men. No one raised their voice. The discipline was firm and steady. Jake stepped closer to the main display. Keep focus. Remember purpose. We are not here for terror. We are here to show boundary. The ship took a wider path, drawing several Imperial cruisers into close range. At the perfect moment, a burst of interfered energy spread outward, disabling their coordination links. They drifted helplessly, unable to lock weapons or speak to command. Across the field, Empire crews saw their might dissolve piece by piece. Fear settled in quiet waves. Even felt it creeping into his thoughts, though he tried to deny it. In every direction, only one ship moved with confidence, as if space itself welcomed its passage. Within that vessel, the human crew remained controlled and silent. Jake observed the destruction that unfolded but did not enjoy it. His eyes held a quiet gravity. We proceed until they understand, he said. Then we withdraw strength. The first true silence of space returned in brief gaps between volleys. With space filled with broken hulls and drifting light, the message became clear even without words. The unknown ship was not lost. It was not weak. It was not afraid. Lyra watched the final exchange in shaking quiet. Her voice pressed through internal log record as she spoke for the record. Unidentified vessel demonstrates complete dominance. We have no data. It acts with restraint, but its power is absolute. The truth settled like cold shadow upon the Empire fleet. They had challenged something they did not know, and the ship that was not in any record stood at the heart of their failure, silent and unbothered, as if waiting for them to understand what it truly meant to awaken human defense. The battle did not end with the first fallen cruiser. It only changed shape. In the wide spread of space, burning wreckage drifted like slow-moving sparks. Some pieces still carried faint light from damaged engines or exposed cores. Life pods tried to slip away from the worst danger, their small beacons blinking weak hope into the dark. The Empire fleet, once a perfect and proud wall, now looked like a broken line. Commander stood very still on his bridge. Every screen in front of him showed some kind of failure. One ship without power, another with shields gone, two more cut off from command. His thoughts felt heavy, but his pride did not allow him to show fear. "Reform the line," he ordered. "Pull surviving carriers to the rear. Bring destroyers forward. We will cut that thing apart." Voices replied across the command network, but they did not have the usual strength. Officers on other ships sounded tired, unsure, and shocked. They had never seen a single enemy vessel move like this. They had never watched one clean shot destroy a cruiser of that size. Lyra kept her eyes on the deep scan. She changed angles, adjusted filters, and tried every trick she knew. The unknown ship still refused to match any known template. Its power levels climbed each time it absorbed fire. Its movement kept making small shifts just before Empire weapons fired, as if it could see the future. She swallowed and spoke in a flat tone. "Commander, the vessel is now charging energy again. Its forward array is warming, same weapon that took the cruiser." Raised his chin. "Then we act first. Focus every heavy cannon on that weapon node. If we cut that away, we remove its claws." Cannons moved. Target lines locked onto the front of the human ship. A heavy pulse of Empire fire streaked across the gap. This time the attack came with real killing intent, not just warning. On the human bridge, the main display brightened as the incoming barrage appeared. Tapped a command, and the ship's core systems adjusted in a blink. The vessel rolled, dipped, and then slid sideways in a way Empire physics did not understand. The main bulk of the attack passed through the space where the ship had just been. A few beams still hit. When they did, the shield web shimmered like soft glass under rain. Watched numbers jump across his engineering panel. "Shield intake holding," he said. "We converted most of that into extra reserve. They are helping us without knowing." Jake gave one small nod. "Keep it steady. No overdraw, we stay in control." He studied the enemy formation. The Empire ships tried to tighten their circle, but the damage they had taken left gaps in their pattern. Some ships slowed as they tried to protect their own wounded. Others moved too fast and leaving open spaces. Pointed to a weak line between two destroyers. "If we pass through here, we can break their inner command channel," she said. "We can reach the main carrier before they can react." Jake thought for only a moment. "Do it," he said, "but do it clean. Focus fire only on systems. We are not out here to enjoy their death." The human vessel shifted toward the break in the line. Its engines did not roar. They spoke in a low, steady hum that never changed tone. The hull glowed again as shield power cycled through its layers. On one of the smaller Empire destroyers near the gap, a young gunnery officer stared at his display. The unknown ship moved toward them with calm confidence. His hands shook. "They are heading straight for our sector," he said. His captain tried to respond with the right strength. "Hold position. The fleet will support. We fire on my mark." But before they could act, the human ship vanished from one part of their screens and appeared in another. It was not true teleportation, but their tracking systems could not follow the smooth curve of its path. For a moment, it seemed to slip out of reality and then back in again. A beam of clean white energy cut from the human ship's side. It did not aim for the destroyer's hull. It struck the ship's external communication array. Metal fused and broke. Screens on the destroyer went black for an instant. "Command link lost," someone shouted. The destroyer drifted slightly, blind and deaf to the rest of the fleet. On the Empire flagship, Lyra watched that small break with growing dread. "They are not simply firing at random," she said. "They are targeting our nerve lines. They know how we think." Refuse to accept that. "They are guessing like any predator," he argued. "We just need more pressure. Call in the second ring. We will crush it between layers." The second ring of ships, which had stayed slightly back as reserve, began to move closer. More heavy cruisers, more weapon platforms, more fighters launched from carrier bays. Small fighter craft formed a cloud, rising like a swarm around the central unknown threat. Watching them spoke quietly. "They are sending fighters now, armed shuttles. They want to overwhelm us with numbers." Jake did not frown, but his eyes grew sharper. "We do not kill them if we can avoid it," he said. "Tag and disable, send a clear message." Adjusted a different system. "Burst pattern ready," he said. "We can shut down their smaller craft with a single spread if we time it right." The fighters came in from all sides. Each one fired smaller beams and missiles meant to chip away at the strange ship's defense. To anyone watching, it looked like a storm of light closing in over one small island. At the last second, the human vessel released a wide ripple of energy that swept outward like an invisible wave. When it passed through the fighters, every small craft flickered. Engines cut out. Control panels went dark. One by one, they lost power and drifted, their pilots suddenly helpless. No fighter exploded. None broke apart. They simply stopped, floating in space without control, held in place by inertia alone. On her scan, Lyra saw dozens of small friend signals go cold at once. She knew they were not dead, but they were finished for this battle. "They took out the entire fighter wing without a single kill," she said, her voice shaking now. "They do not even need to destroy us to win." Felt the panic around him rise. He heard it in the hushed voices of his crew and in the broken reports from other ships. He slammed his hand down again in anger. "Enough," he said. "Focus all remaining heavy weapons on that ship. Maximum output. Do not worry about power drain. We end this." On the human bridge, warning icons filled the tactical display. Could see the buildup of energy across the entire Empire line. "They are going to try one massive strike," she said. Jake did not look away from the field. "Then we show them what restraint really means," he answered. "Full conversion pattern. We accept the attack. Prepare redirect channels." Took a slow breath. "If we take it all, the feedback will be intense," he warned. "But the system can handle it. We might darken our own decks for a moment." "We can live with darkness," Jake said. "We cannot live with half measures." The Empire fired. A wall of energy, brighter than anything yet seen in the battle, rushed forward. It came from every angle, every major gun, all at once. The human ship did not move away. It stayed in place, quiet and small, as though accepting a test. The first impact was blinding. For a breath in time, the human vessel disappeared inside a burning sphere of light. Any Empire officer watching thought for that moment that they had finally done it, that the strange threat had been erased. But then the light began to change. Instead of exploding outward, the burning sphere tightened inward. The glow folded toward the ship, pulled as if drawn by a deep well. Hands moved quickly over his controls. "Conversion holding," he said through gritted teeth. "Shields at limit but not breaking, core taking power, redirect channels open." Lights dimmed across the human ship's corridors. Non-essential systems turned off to free extra pathways. The crew felt the hum of the engines deepen under their feet. On the Empire flagship, Lyra stared with wide eyes. "The energy is not tearing it apart," she whispered. "It is swallowing it." The glowing sphere faded. The unknown ship remained, its hull brighter now with new charge. For a second it looked almost like a small star. Jake spoke in a quiet, steady voice. "Now we give it back," he said. "Fire in controlled arcs only. One at each main carrier, not the smaller ships. We hit command, not the weak." His fingers moved with smooth precision. The human ship released a series of beams, not wide and messy, but narrow and exact. Each beam carried a portion of the energy it had just taken in. Each one struck an Empire capital ship, not at random, but at key locations where power cores and central systems met. One after another, the carriers went dark. Their reactors shut down in emergency safety mode. Lights flickered and died. Engines stopped. Large war giants became cold, drifting shapes. All across the Empire fleet, silence fell on the channels. Command signals dropped off. Order turned into confusion. Without the carriers, there was no strong voice to guide the rest. Felt the loss like a physical blow. His fleet had just lost its heart. Around him, crew members could not hide their fear now. "We cannot hold this," someone said softly. Ignored the words. He stared at the small glowing ship at the center of the chaos. His throat felt dry. For the first time, he began to understand that this was not simply a strong enemy. This was something that moved beyond every rule he had trusted. He forced himself to speak. "Signal the remaining ships," he ordered. "All units fall back to scatter pattern. Do not engage directly. We regroup at secondary coordinates." But the signal never reached everyone. Communication links were broken in too many places. Some ships received the order and tried to pull away. Others never heard it and stayed in place, still trying to shoot. The Empire fleet no longer moved as one body. It tore itself into confused pieces. Inside the human ship, the crew watched that confusion in complete detail. Every move, every broken link, every failed attempt to reform appeared on their screens. Jake felt no joy. He only saw proof that the message was working. "We have shown enough of what we can do in open combat," he said. "Now we focus on ending this with the least blood." Glanced at him. "There are still many ships with weapons charged," she said. "If we turn away, they may regroup and hunt us later." "Then we do not turn away," Jake replied. "We move through them and cut the weapons out of their hands." He set a new course. The ship accelerated smoothly, gliding through the broken formation like a silent blade. For each hostile vessel still trying to fight, the human ship sent small precision bursts. They did not aim at the hull. They struck gun lines, shield generators, and targeting systems. Weapons went dead. Shield grids fell in soft flickers. One Imperial captain, watching his heavy cannons lose power one by one, sank back into his chair with hollow eyes. "What are we fighting?" he whispered. His second officer answered in a thin voice. "I am not sure we are fighting at all, sir. I think they are just choosing not to kill us." On the flagship, Lyra started a personal log, even as chaos filled every channel. Her hands shook while she recorded her thoughts. "Unknown vessel continues to control the field," she spoke softly. "Every action is deliberate. They disable more than they destroy. It is as if they are trying to prove a rule to us rather than wipe us out." Her gaze moved to the data again. The power readings from the human ship were still strong, but its weapon output had lowered. It could end them, she knew, but it did not. Heard her words, and for a brief moment, his anger faded. Under his pride, there was still a commander who cared about his people. He stared at the field and saw that resistance would no longer save his honor. It would only add more broken ships to the graveyard. He drew in a slow breath. "Open direct channel to the unknown ship," he said. Lyra hesitated, then obeyed. "Channel open," she said. "Audio and visual ready." On the human bridge, an incoming signal request appeared on the main screen. Looked at Jake. "They are trying to speak," she said. Jake nodded. "Accept it." The image of Commander appeared in front of them. His face was tight and proud, but there was clear strain in his eyes. Behind him, the lights of his bridge flickered, and wounded crew moved at stations. "This is Commander of the Galactic Empire Fleet," he said in a firm, formal tone. "You have attacked Imperial forces in our own patrolled space. Identify yourself and your purpose." Jake stood calm in the middle of his bridge. His ship had no grand emblem on the wall behind him, no display of power, only steady light and clear screens. "I am Captain Jake Morrow of the human vessel Sentinel," he answered. "We entered this region on a protected route. Your fleet opened fire without cause." Frowned. "You carried no recognized signal," he said. "No record of your species or your craft exists in any Imperial archive. That alone is a threat." Jake did not raise his voice. "You decided that ignorance was a reason to fire," he said. "We decided that survival was a reason to answer." The words hung between them. His jaw clenched. His pride wanted to scream back. His sense of power wanted to deny everything. But the evidence was around him in every direction. "You could have destroyed us," he said at last. "Yes," Jake replied. "But you did not," continued. "No," Jake said, "we did not. That was also a decision." Something in that simple answer cut deeper than any weapon. Looked away for a brief moment, his eyes moving over the dark field of dead and drifting ships. He understood then that the Empire had faced something that did not care about their pride. It cared only about lines they should not cross. "What is it you want?" he asked quietly. Jake took a slow breath. "We want you to understand that we are not your subject," he said. "We will not kneel when you flash weapons. We crossed this space because we had cause. You chose intimidation. We answered so that you remember this moment the next time you see a human ship." Felt the full weight of those words. He knew that however this ended, stories about this battle would travel through every command hall of the Empire. His fleet would be remembered as the one that fired first and lost. He closed his eyes for 1 second. When he opened them, his voice was softer. "What happens now?" he asked. Jake looked then at the display of disabled ships around them. "Now we end this exchange," he said. "We will not fire again unless you do. We will leave your injured ships in peace. We expect safe passage out of this sector. That is all." Almost laughed at the thought that such a powerful ship asked for so little. Safe passage, the right not to be hunted, not revenge, not control. He gave a slow nod. "You will have it," he said. "I will send the order. No Imperial weapon will fire upon you as you exit these coordinates." Jake inclined his head. "Then this battle is over," he said. "Remember it well, Commander." The channel closed. On the Empire flagship, Lyra let out a breath she did not know she had held. Around her, the crew moved with a strange mix of relief and shame. "We lost," someone said softly. Lyra shook her head. "We survived," she answered, "because they allowed it." Outside, engines on the human ship brightened again. The vessel turned away from the broken fleet and began to move toward open space. It did not rush. It did not show off. It simply left, like a quiet storm that had finished passing. As it moved, Jake stood at the center of his bridge and watched the damaged ships fall further behind. "We did what we came to do," said. Jake nodded, but there was no satisfaction in his face. "We showed them a boundary," he said. "Now we see if they choose to respect it." The stars ahead opened, wide and dark and full of unknown paths. The Sentinel moved toward them, carrying the story of what had just happened, a story that would not stay silent for long. On both sides of the field, human and Empire minds turned over the same new thought. Humanity was real. Humanity was dangerous. And humanity had chosen to hold back. The human ship moved away from the broken fleet, its engines pushing it into deeper and darker space. The stars ahead looked calm and distant, but behind it the Empire ship still floated in slow confusion. Some tried to restore systems. Others simply stayed still, as if stunned by what had happened. On the Empire flagship, Commander watched the human vessel shrink into the distance. He did not speak for a long moment. His mind replayed every second of the battle, every order he gave, every reply he received. He felt anger, yes, but also something new. A deep unease that did not come from fear alone, but from the knowledge that the Empire had misjudged a force it could not control. Lyra stepped closer to him. "The human ship is leaving the outer zone," she said. "They are keeping their word, no hostile movement." Nodded slowly, "And they could have ended us," he replied, "yet they chose not to." Around them, officers moved with careful quiet. No one celebrated survival. There was no pride in retreat. Every face carried the same heavy thought. They had met a power that did not follow their rules. "Begin damage reports," said. "List every ship that can still move. Mark the ones beyond recovery, and pull in all fighter craft we can reach." "Yes, Commander," a systems officer answered. Data began to appear. More than a third of the fleet was disabled in some way. Several major carriers were dark and drifting. Others had lost main weapons or full control. The Empire had lost more in one short encounter than in years of slow border conflict. "Turn to Lyra. Your report will go directly to High Command," he said. "Tell them exactly what we faced." Lyra hesitated. "How do I describe something that does not fit any of our logic?" she asked. "Tell them the truth," said. "A single human ship chose not to destroy us." Her eyes widened slightly. "You believe it was a choice?" He gave a short, bitter sound. "I know it was." Far ahead in space, the human vessel continued its path. Its course shifted slightly as it cleared Empire sensor range. Inside, the bridge atmosphere remained calm, but the weight of what had passed had not left the air entirely. Jake stood at the central display, watching the last faint traces of enemy signals vanish, moved closer beside him. "They are not following," she said. "No pursuit craft detected." "Good," he replied. "They have learned for now." His voice came from engineering. "All systems stabilizing," he reported. "Core levels steady, shields cooling. We absorbed enough energy to stay powered for weeks, even without external draws." Jake managed a faint smile. "Let them try that again. You might start asking for a bonus." Laughed softly over the link. "I would settle for a quiet cycle and real coffee." The bridge returned to a slow rhythm. The immediate danger was past, but Jake knew very well that what they had just done would echo through Empire space. The encounter would not fade. It would grow into rumor, then into fear, then into policy. Spoke again. "Do you think they will change?" "They may not understand us yet," Jake said, "but they will remember the cost of guessing wrong." A low, soft alert sounded. Long-range sensors had picked up a faint communication pulse, not from the Empire fleet, but from a smaller, unknown source nearby. Jake turned back to the main screen. "Show source," he said. A small moving craft appeared on the edge of sensor range. It did not show Imperial markings. Its structure was lighter, more delicate, and clearly not built for war. It seemed damaged, trailing weak energy from its rear section. Tilted her head slightly. "It looks like a civilian vessel," she said, "possibly caught in the outer zone conflict." Added, "Its power output is unstable. If we ignore it, it may not survive long." Jake studied the data. "Bring us closer," he said. "Open a channel." As the human ship approached, the small craft tried to adjust course, but its movement was clumsy. A voice came through, weak and distorted at first, then clearer. "This is transit ship," the voice said. "We request assistance. Our engines were damaged in the recent exchange. We are not Empire military." The accent and tone were unfamiliar, but the fear in the voice was clear. Jake answered in a calm and even manner. "This is the human vessel Sentinel," he said. "We are not hostile. Hold position. We will stabilize your drive field." There was a pause. "You are the ship that fought the Empire?" the voice asked. "Yes," Jake replied, "and we do not fire on those who ask for help." The small craft fell silent for a moment, as if the crew was trying to understand the risk and the relief at the same time. Then the channel reopened. "We accept your aid," the voice said. "We are grateful." The Sentinel adjusted course and drifted nearer. Soft streams of energy reached out, forming a controlled stabilization field around the damaged vessel. The glow steadied its broken engine section, preventing further collapse. Inside the small ship, its crew felt control return in small but meaningful ways. Systems power steadied. Lights stopped flickering. Panic began to soften. Back on the human bridge, monitored the process. Efficiency stable. They should be able to move under their own power with limited speed once we complete transfer. Jake nodded. "Do not make them dependent," he said. "Help them stand, then let them walk." As the energy flow continued, the communication channel stayed open. The same voice spoke again, now less shaken. "We are from the Outer Trade Alliance," it said. "We were mapping corridor routes when the Empire fleet intercepted a signature. Their fire caught us in the spread." "You were in the wrong place at the wrong time," Jake answered. "It happens too often in these borders." "Yes," the voice said sadly. "Usually smaller vessels do not survive such mistakes." Jake did not respond to that. He watched the energy transfer numbers instead. He preferred action over long explanations. When the process finished, the small ship's engine glow evened out. Its movement stabilized. It held steady near the Sentinel like a frightened creature waiting for the next strike that did not come. "You are now stable," Jake said. "You can move under low thrust. Avoid the direct path of the Empire fleet. They may still be confused." "We will change course immediately," the voice replied. "Before we go, why did you spare them?" There was silence on the channel for a few seconds. Glanced at Jake. He did not answer at once. "We were not there to erase them," he finally said. "We were there to teach them where the line is." "And the rest of us?" the voice asked. "The rest of you should not be swallowed by someone else's pride," Jake said calmly. The small ship paused, then spoke one last time. "May your path stay clear, human captain." "With care it will," Jake replied. The channel closed. The small craft turned gently and began its slow departure, leaving a faint trail of light as it moved back toward safer space. Exhaled softly. "Word of mouth will spread," she said, "not just among the Empire but among civilians too." "Yes," Jake agreed, "and that part matters just as much." Further away, within the Empire's inner communication network, the first official reports began to travel. Messages flashed from its damaged flagship toward core command worlds, describing a single unknown human vessel that had dismantled a full battle group and still chosen control over slaughter. At high command centers, officers read the words again and again. They reviewed data streams and paused on the same repeating facts: unrecorded design, impossible movement, controlled power, tactical mercy. One senior strategist leaned back from the display. "If this is one ship," he murmured, "then what does the rest of their fleet look like?" No one answered him. Out on the edge of space, Jake remained unaware of how deep the shock now ran through Empire leadership. He focused on his own crew and his own mission. "We will maintain low visibility for the next cycle," he said. "No strong signal bursts, no unnecessary exposure." Responded from engineering. "Understood, we will keep our profile narrow." The ship settled into a balanced cruise, moving through vacuum and silent starlight. For several hours, nothing approached them. Only distant stars and faint dust clouds filled the endless dark. During that time, Jake stepped away from the central console and looked through the forward viewport. Space was wide and calm, and it hid countless unknown points beyond sight. Joined him, her arms folded lightly. "You handled that well," she said. "You kept the scale from tipping into slaughter." "That was always the line," he replied. "We are guardians, not conquerors." "I think they understand that now." Jake's mouth formed a faint curve. Understanding takes time, but fear arrives fast. They will remember today whenever they draw weapons at something they do not know. Another soft alert touched the bridge. Long-range scans now displayed faint communications chatter between distant Empire units and Central Command. Though scrambled, patterns showed rising activity, reorganized focus, and cautious tone. They are sending reinforcements, noted, but their movement path avoids us. They are no longer trying to corner our position. That is progress, Jake said. It means we did not break them, we bent their thinking. Elsewhere on the Empire flagship sat alone in his command chair. The bridge around him buzzed with repair updates and status reviews, but he had withdrawn into a heavy silence. Lyra stepped near once more. "The report has been sent to High Command," she said. "They will likely recall us for debrief." "They should," he replied. "Our name will carry the weight of this failure." Lyra hesitated again. Was it failure, she asked, or was it survival at the edge of understanding? Looked at her then, truly looked at her. His pride still burned, but the fire had changed shape. "It was both," he said, "and from now on the Empire must learn the difference." Hours passed. Space returned to its natural stillness. The Sentinel moved like a quiet shadow between stars, unseen by most eyes, but leaving behind a ripple in history. Inside, the crew resumed normal rhythm. Maintenance checks, navigation updates, engine balance reports. Life on board continued with steady breath. In a quieter moment, Jake recorded a short message for internal record. His voice did not carry glory, only calm purpose. Encounter with Empire fleet completed. Defense action successful. Hostile posture neutralized. Civilian support rendered. Mission objective preserved. Humanity remains unseen by many but never unprotected. He closed the log and turned his gaze forward once more. Far behind them, in Empire space, whispers grew into guarded conversations. About a single ship. About a captain who did not shout. About power that could end but chose not to. And slowly, carefully, a new thought began to live in the minds of those who had once ruled without question. Not everything in the stars exists to kneel. Some exist to remind others not to strike first. The Sentinel continued its quiet path through open space. The stars moved slowly past its hull, and the faint hum of steady engines filled its inner halls. To any distant eye, it would look like nothing more than another traveling vessel. But behind it, across a wide stretch of space, the mark it had left had already begun to change the thinking of an entire empire. On the command world of the Empire, large curved halls glowed with cold white light. Officers walked with firm steps and controlled faces, but the quiet tension in the air could not be hidden. In the central chamber, the highest leaders gathered around a wide holographic display that replayed the battle again and again from multiple angles. They watched the same moments on loop, a fleet line forming, the unknown ship moving forward without fear, the first warning volley, the silent response, the swift collapse of a strong battle group. One senior authority leaned forward. "This craft acted with discipline," he said. "Its captain chose control where most would choose domination." Another shook his head. "That is exactly what unsettles me. Power that obeys itself is more dangerous than power that does not think." "Or more predictable," a third voice replied. "They responded to our aggression only after we fired." The room fell into deep thought. They were no longer speaking about a single ship. They were speaking about the idea of humanity. A younger strategist stepped closer to the display and slowed a frame that showed the human vessel standing still while absorbing the Empire's strongest attack. "If one ship can do this, what happens when 10 arrive?" he asked. No one answered him. The silence itself was the response. Far away from that hall, inside the Sentinel, the mood was calm but alert. Jake had not relaxed fully since the battle. He trusted his crew, but he did not trust the unknown space ahead. Every quiet moment carried the warning that the next encounter might not be as controlled as the last. Studied the forward scan. We are approaching a shared corridor region, she said. Several independent systems trade through this path. If the Empire wants to regain control of the situation, this is where they may try to send envoys. Jake nodded. If they send talk, we will hear it. If they send weapons, we will see them. Laughed softly over the link. I would prefer talk. Weapons make the engines work too hard. Hours passed in slow travel. Dust clouds shifted like silent storms. Minor trade beacons blinked far away. The Sentinel glided through it all with smooth calm. Then another signal appeared. This one carried a structured pattern, official, deliberate. It came from a medium-sized Imperial courier ship, not a war vessel. Its engines held a steady escort speed, not a rush of attack. Raised her eyes. Empire signature, she said, but not combat posture. Jake considered it. Open channel, he said. Let us hear their purpose. A new image filled the main display. A tall Empire officer appeared, his uniform plain but marked with high authority symbols. His expression was carefully neutral. I speak on behalf of the Empire Council, the officer said. We request formal dialogue. Jake stood still, his posture firm but not aggressive. Your fleet fired first in our last meeting, he replied. State your reason now. The Empire recognizes a misjudgment, the officer said. Your actions and restraint have been reviewed. We wish to avoid further hostility. Raised an eyebrow slightly, but did not speak. Jake kept his voice even. What does that mean in practice? He asked. It means we offer sanctioned passage through contested corridors, the officer explained. It also means we seek clarity. You are not recorded. Your intent is unknown. Fear has filled gaps where knowledge should be. Jake paused for a brief moment before answering. Fear is a choice, he said. So is control. The officer inclined his head. Then let us move toward understanding. You may share your intention without disclosing strategic assets. Jake looked at the crew around him for a second and then returned his focus to the screen. We are not a roaming war fleet, he said. We answer to threat and protect our own routes. We do not expand by force and we do not obey intimidation. The officer processed that with care. And if Empire forces maintain distance, he asked. Then conflict will not occur, Jake said simply. There was another pause. The officer nodded. The Council will consider this a necessary adjustment. Proper distance will be maintained. The channel closed. On the bridge, exhaled slowly. They are scared, she said, but they are trying to hide it behind words of reason. Jake gave a slow nod. That is normal. They built an empire on pressure. Now they have met pressure that pushes back. Added, at least they are learning with minimal debris. The Sentinel continued through the corridor. No weapons tracked it. No new threats appeared. Even the minor Empire patrols kept wide arcs around its path. Back on the command world, the report of the courier contact reached the Council. A new tone of caution began to shape their language. The word human entered official documentation with careful phrases instead of warnings. One leader spoke quietly to the chamber. We will observe, not provoke. We will study, not challenge. Another replied, and if they expand? Then we adapt, came the answer. In the distant stars, news traveled even beyond Empire borders. Small trade networks spoke of the battle. Civilian captains told soft whispers to docking crews. A single human ship, a firm voice, a refusal to bend or destroy. Some spoke with fear, others with hope. Inside the Sentinel, the crew followed new navigation data toward a safe exit route beyond heavy Empire influence. Jake walked along the bridge perimeter and paused near the viewport once more. His eyes carried a quiet seriousness. Joined him again. Do you think they will keep their word? She asked. They will for now, he said. Fear makes promises firm. Understanding may make them lasting." She nodded, "And us?" "We continue," Jake replied. "That is our duty." Another message arrived, this one from Human Territory Command. A secure relay opened, and the familiar tone of coordination filled the bridge. "Sentinel status check requested," the voice said. Jake stepped forward. "Engagement complete. Empire fleet neutralized with limited force. Contact made. No pursuit observed." "Your report is confirmed," the command voice replied. "Council analysis already shows Empire adjustment in posture. You held the line." Jake did not smile. "The line only matters if it stays remembered," he said. "It will," came the reply. "Return on designated route. Debrief scheduled upon arrival." "Understood," Jake answered. The channel closed. In the quiet after, the Sentinel moved with purpose but without urgency. The path home lay clear for the moment. The stars continued their endless witness as the ship cut its steady trail across the black. In Empire space, stood on a viewing platform, watching repair drones circle his damaged flagship. His career now rested on a moment where pride had nearly cost everything. He knew the story would not fade from his name. Lyra stood beside him, her gaze also fixed on the cold stars. "They will speak of this for generations," she said. "Yes," replied, "and if the Empire learns anything from it, then perhaps it had purpose." He paused. "If we meet them again, it will not be with weapons first." Lyra nodded, then the lesson worked. Back aboard the Sentinel, the crew gradually eased into normal operational rhythm. Lights softened. Systems hummed with gentle strength. The silence of deep space filled the background like a slow breath. Jake returned to the command chair and rested his hands lightly on the console. His eyes moved across steady lines and quiet scan reports. Glanced toward him. "Do you ever think about what they will call this day?" she asked. He considered it for a moment. "They will call it whatever helps them sleep," he said. "We will call it what it was, a moment where we refused to bow or become monsters." She smiled faintly. "That sounds like balance." "It is the only kind worth keeping," he replied. As the ship continued onward, new signals spread through distant channels. Not threats, not warnings, just cautious curiosity. Other species began to ask quiet questions. Who are the humans? Where do they stand? What do they want? The answers were still forming, still moving through time and space like ripples on invisible water. But one truth had settled deep and clear. Humanity did not exist to rule by fear. Humanity did not exist to kneel under pressure. Humanity existed to choose its response. And in that choice there was strength. As the Sentinel pierced further into the dark, its steady presence became less about war and more about warning, less about dominance and more about direction. It did not chase glory. It guarded the path behind it and watched the unknown ahead. On the final stretch of its current route, Jake looked out one last time at the endless field of distant suns. He saw not enemies, not flags, not power plays, but silent space waiting to be understood. The lesson of the battle would stretch far beyond the moment. It would settle into thinking, into policy, into memory. And somewhere, years from now, a young officer of the Empire would study a quiet recording and whisper to himself with sober respect, "Do not fire first on what you do not understand." Somewhere, a civilian trade captain would tell his crew a careful story about a small human ship that chose mercy over terror. And in human space, children would grow hearing that strength did not always mean destruction, and that real power often stood silent and still instead of shouting. The Sentinel moved on, carrying no trophy, no anthem, only quiet purpose encoded into every system it held. Behind it, a broken fleet drifted and healed. Ahead of it, the unknown opened wide. And the stars, indifferent and eternal, continued their slow watching as one truth burned gently in the quiet of deep space. A single human ship changed the way an empire remembered fear.